Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Tax Matters. I'm Chamaka Ohauchi. We begin the episode by continuing with our tax education series, The Businessman's Guide to Taxation. What are the tax obligations of the entrepreneur? On this episode, we want to focus on the tax obligations of the limited liability company business operator. If you are running a limited liability company, you have business with both the FIRS and the State Internal Revenue Service in charge of the location where your business is domiciled. Yes, your company's income tax is due to the Federal Internal Revenue Service. VAT is remitted to the FIRS just as many others: education tax, capital gains tax, stamp duties, withholding tax. But then, you have employees working for you. Their personal income tax, known as pay as you earn, is payable to the State Internal Revenue Service of the state where each staff member resides. There is also business premises permit and annual renewal, as well as many others depending on your area of business. The most prominent tax payable by limited liability companies is companies' income tax, which becomes due 18 months after commencement of business. Therefore, if you commenced business on the 1st of January 2022, your company's income tax becomes due latest by the 30th of June 2023. So what do you need to do from day one? Keep records of every activity, of all expenses, of all payments. At the end of the year 2022, when the countdown begins, that is to say, when your activities, your business activities in the year 2022 are completed and are due for a report to yourself, to stakeholders, if any, and to the government, who, like somebody likes to say, is a stakeholder in every business. The countdown begins towards June 2023. It is required that you get a qualified chartered accountant to audit your accounts, and then a registered tax consultant to determine your tax liabilities for companies' income tax, education tax, and such other taxes applicable to your field of operation. Don't be scared. There are some practices where the roles of auditor and tax consultant reside in one person or practice, and be rest assured they don't charge too much, but it is advisable to seek such professional help. Later in the episode, you will see or get to know that it is not just anybody that can claim or act as auditor or tax consultant. Remember, as we always counsel on this program, don't try to navigate the minefield by yourself. Seek professional help, and above all, keep records. Of course, it bears repeating that VAT collection from your customers and prompt monthly remittance to the FIRS is non-negotiable. As the law stands today, failure to file monthly VAT returns and remit, if such payment arises, is liable to a heavy penalty of 50,000 naira for the month. We conclude today's tax education capsule with good news. Succor is here. Filing and remitting monthly VAT, filing and remitting companies' income tax, and all other related taxes are now easier than ABC.
I'm a very busy man. My business involves a lot of traveling, and I interface with lots and lots of people and organizations. Tax compliance used to be a big drag on my business. It was time-consuming and very costly. But now, no more. Introducing the FIRS Tax Pro Max, the truly fully end-to-end tax administration solution for companies' income tax, value-added tax, petroleum profits tax, and all other tax types. For fast, efficient, and convenient end-to-end tax experience, log on to www.taxpromax.firs.gov.ng. Tax Promax has turned things around for me. It is fast, user-friendly, and cost-effective. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC.
Tax Pro Max to the rescue. Moving on. We spoke earlier about the engagement of the services of chartered accountants and, more importantly, tax consultants in the bid of entrepreneurs to fulfill their tax obligations. As the law stands today, the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria is the only body statutorily recognized to regulate the practice of tax consultancy in Nigeria. On Monday, the 8th of August 2022, the CITN presented practice licenses to yet another set of tax practitioners, this time 84 in number. We do recall that on the 27th of September 2018, a set of 41 practitioners were presented with their licenses, seals, and stamps. This was closely followed by yet another presentation of same to 161 practitioners on the 20th of December 2018. On the 27th of July 2022, the FIRS issued a public notice affirming that, with effect from October 1st, 2022, only duly licensed practitioners with the stamp, the seal, and the license issued by the CITN would be allowed to represent clients, file returns, and deal in all respects with the FIRS in matters of taxation. The FIRS shall only accept tax computations included in tax returns submitted by a tax practitioner who has been hired for a fee, if such computation is signed and affixed with the stamp or seal issued by the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. However, where a taxpayer chooses to file its tax returns without engaging the services of a tax practitioner, the FIRS shall accept such tax returns as self-filing by the taxpayer. The public notice also contains something on the accreditation of tax practitioners and auditors for the filing of tax returns as follows. Each of the professional bodies, ICANN, ANAN, and CITN, shall submit to the FIRS a list of their accredited practicing members not later than the end of February every year. This will be followed by the FIRS publishing the list of accredited auditors and tax practitioners for the purpose of filing tax returns not later than 31st March of every year. Now to the story of the event of August 8. Mr. Taofik Oretuga is the Chairman Membership Committee of the CITN.
Today marks another landmark in the pursuit of your professional practice, as you will be officially given the instrument that will designate you as a tax practitioner, that will make you different from the charlatans, quack, and impostors that parade themselves today in the tax profession. The instrument will afford you not only to earn your living, but to contribute your quota to the growth of the Nigeria tax system through our noble institute, the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria.
President of the CITN, Mr. Adeshino Adedayo, extended the scope of the day's event beyond the issuance of the practice license.
We have over 25,000 as members, but we have very limited number when it comes to practitioner. Now, at the level of practice, what you actually represent is that you are the brand ambassador of the institute. By the end of this ceremony, you will join the growing list of professionals on the roll call of the CITN, which entitles you to practice the profession of taxation in Nigeria. As you are aware, customized stamps have been introduced to be used by tax practitioners in filing tax returns and to be affixed on correspondences. Additionally, following the signing of the MOU between the CITN, ICANN, and ANAN in May 2021, the Federal Inland Revenue Service on 27th July 2022 issued a circular which standardized the mode of filing returns by the respective institutions, which means we have a role to play. ICANN and ANAN has their role to play, but our role is restricted. We do not sign audited account just for signing. No, the auditors are the ones that are meant to express an opinion on the true and fair view of the audited account, while our role is to ensure that on the basis of that audited account, the right type of tax, the form of the issue of tax as it affects that entity is equally done in a professional manner.
Mr. Adedayo also gave this charge.
I implore you all to exhibit the highest level of ethical standards and professionalism expected of licensed tax practitioners at all times. Be mindful that you conduct yourself from today onward and make sure that you have the desired impact on the economy, not just on your practice, but on the profession and the institute at large. The institute will not fail to wield the big stick to discipline where there are reported and established cases of misconduct by practitioners. Our investigating panel and disciplinary tribunal are equipped and active to dispense such matters.
Highlight of the day's event was a presentation of papers aimed at further preparing the licensees for the task at hand, and then the reason for the day's event.
Mr. President, you have standing before you a total number of 84 members of the Institute. Some of them are also on the virtual platform. I hereby recommend that they should be issued with the practice license certificates, seals, and stamps of the Institute this 8th day of August 2022.
Mention your name and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I shall always comply with the provisions of the Institute's charter.
The event was rounded off with the handing over of the stamps, the seals, and the licenses. What qualifies one to be a tax practitioner? What are the criteria for qualification?
You have to first be a member of the Institute. You must first become an associate member of the Institute or even a standing fellow. Then secondly, you must have served in a practicing firm for a period of no less than 18 months. That's the second part. Then thirdly, you must be in good financial standing for you to be qualified to be given that practice license. Now, what differentiates a member with a practicing license from an ordinary member? A member with a practice license is somebody who has gotten additional training and exposure as far as tax practice is concerned. For you to have this additional thing, you must actually go in depth into what it takes for you to practice as a tax professional. This particular quality is not every member. As of today, we have over 25,000 members of the Institute. But the number of practitioners we have is within the range of 2,000 plus, 2,000 and something. Now, that means that these 2,000 plus members are those people who are qualified to practice without restriction. They are the people who are qualified to engage as an interface between the clients and the administrators.
There you are. In the tax education corner that preceded this segment, we spoke about the engagement of chartered tax practitioners to help in filing your tax returns. We emphasize once again, anyone that you approach or that approaches you claiming to be a registered tax practitioner must have a stamp, a seal, and a license duly issued by the CITN. The tax computation and filing papers prepared by them must bear the CITN stamp and seal, as well as their practice number. Still talking about the CITN and about its powers to regulate the practice of tax consultancy in Nigeria, the CITN has signed an MOU with the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. One may wonder, what is the business of the CITN with ICSAN?
You cannot be talking about corporate governance when it appears as if you have tax challenges. And even as taxmen, you cannot also not be talking about fulfilling tax responsibility as tax administrators and practitioners and ignoring the aspect that borders of corporate governance.
On his own part, the president of ICSAN, Mr. Taiwo Benga Owokalade, spoke in the same vein.
Governance has become a platform that keeps looking at other professional bodies as a basis of seeing how well they meet the aspiration of fulfilling obligations.
After the speeches, the two bodies put pen to paper. For more elucidation, Tax Matters spoke to the presidents of both bodies. What does this MOU signing between the CITN and ICSAN mean for your institute, ICSAN?
For us as an institute, we look through the Nigerian space and we realize that there is no need for competition among professionals. We should rather do a lot of collaborations. So among the several professional bodies that we have around, we have identified CITN. Our members are multi-professionals. So when they are also tax-oriented, it also has a lead of a value to us. There's hardly any of my members that will be carrying out activities that do not have a tax implication. So the best bet is for me not to make them to struggle so much, but to look towards CITN for a value addition, for a value proposition. So that is why we started this initiative, and we're happy that today all of those issues behind the scene, they have been brought to the table, and we have signed this MOU.
What impact will this MOU that has been signed between the CITN and ICSAN have on members and also on the institute's objectives?
Naturally, the MOU is meant to have a positive impact, but let me go to specifics. The MOU was actually consummated to address the issue of tax governance and corporate governance, because from the ICSAN perspective, they are the professionals when it comes to corporate governance. We, as tax practitioners, we are equally concerned with tax governance. And when we have to do with tax governance, it means policies of management, policies of government. These are governance policies that will impact either positively or negatively on how tax is being practiced. So when we have this issue of joint capacity building MOU, it means whenever we have a joint seminar, a joint conference, we are telling people your governance practices, your governance policies will impact on how well we practice as tax professionals. And we want a situation where that governance follows certain principles, which has to do with the fact that the interest of the entity, while it is paramount, you must equally be mindful of regulatory and compliance issues, which is why we are signing this MOU.
Just a week after the signing of this MOU, another one was signed with NASIMA, again in the same spirit, enthroning tax compliance as a crucial aspect of corporate governance. Any talk of corporate governance that does not take tax compliance into consideration is hollow. Welcome to our guest corner. Mr. Muhammad Nami mounted the saddle as FIRS chairman late in December 2019. He hit the ground running using what he called the 4 pillars as the compass for his administration. Among the foremost departments at the FIRS is the General Tax Operations Group, GTOG for short, which oversees the more than 100 tax offices of the FIRS across Nigeria. In fact, the General Tax Operations Group is widely regarded as the engine room of the FIRS. Mr. Kabir Abba is the group lead of the General Tax Operations Group at the FIRS. Tax Matters sat down with him for an assessment of the operations of the FIRS in the last few years. Mr. Abba, thank you for joining us on Tax Matters.
Thank you very much.
Sir, we are looking at the reforms at the FIRS in the last couple of years, and you are the Group Lead Tax Operations Group at the FIRS. Now, please share with us some of the reforms or all the reforms that have been carried out by the service and how they have impacted tax revenue generation or mobilization in Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much. You see, FIRS has undergone a series of reforms in the last 2-3 years when this current administration under our chairman, Muhammad Nami, came on board. Prominent amongst those are the 4 cardinal objectives he came up with, of which he wanted to achieve, and I can assure you that we have achieved that to some extent, and it's still counting in the last 2 years. The first of which to institutionalize, to rebuild, institutional framework of the service. Because prior to his coming, the FIRS doesn't even have a board. So when he came on board, we now have a board, for the FIRS, which has been, guiding our operations and all that. and functions are now clearly defined. That is all under the rebuild institutional framework. We now have clear-cut, reporting lines in the service. Departments are clearly delineated with specific functions to carry. For instance, now we do what we call our taxpayer segmentation. Our taxpayers are segmented based on their turnover thresholds. If you take, for instance, the companies that have a turnover of 2 billion naira and above, we categorize those under the large taxpayers, department. Those with a turnover of 500 million to 2 billion are what we call the medium tax offices category, and of course the micro and small taxpayers offices, which are 500 million naira turnover and below. And even amongst the large taxpayers, those with the 2 billion naira turnover and above, we also further categorize them sectorally. For instance, now we have what we call the aviation tax office that deals with companies in the aviation sector. We also have come together to group the financial institutions under the last tax office financials, likewise telecommunications, likewise manufacturing. So we have done all this so that we can concentrate on our taxpayers for easy administration and to properly monitor and guide them for prompt and correct payment of taxes. So that is one of the changes that he has brought on board, and that by that we have witnessed tremendous revenue generation over the years. So second is, of course, the collaboration with stakeholders, because we have come to understand that tax revenue collection is the business of all, and we cannot do it alone. So the second objective, of course, is to collaborate with our critical stakeholders. For instance, now this Corporate Affairs Commission, because we as FIRS, register these taxpayers and give them what we call the TIN, of which we will need to validate with the Corporate Affairs Commission. We have the Joint Tax Board, and of course the Ministry of Finance, who gives us policy guidelines and all that. We have the NFIU, a lot of critical stakeholders. So we're now collaborating. It's yielding very positive result, which has resulted into high revenue yields in the last couple of years. So the third reform, of course, has to do with what we call to make FIRS a customer-centric organization. Because the customers, of course, are the kings, they are the taxpayers. So we've now decided to put what we call help desk in all our offices across the country. And we have over 150 of such offices. So any taxpayer that comes around, of course, that is this first point of call, so that his needs and questions can be addressed. Because we have come to understand that a lot of the taxpayers don't even know what their obligations are, or how to even do registrations and all that. So this has actually helped us to educate the taxpayers and makes them exercise their civic responsibility. We've even gone further to open what we call the contact center, where from the comfort of your homes and offices, you can place a call, to the tax office, and all your questions and needs can be addressed. And the interesting thing is that you don't have to do this in English language alone. You can do it in even our local languages. You can do it in Igbo, you can do it in Yoruba, Hausa, French, and it's still counting. So this has actually eased up a lot of things for us. So FIRS is really a customer-centric organization because we have now realized how important they are, and we have made it so easy, for them to ask their questions and do their normal tax businesses with us. So there's another very important one amongst the four, which is to make FIRS a data-centric organization, because without data, you'll not be able to do much. The regime we operate, the tax regime we operate, we call it the self-assessment regime, where taxpayers, are allowed to go do their businesses and they self-assess themselves and come and pay what they feel is, the tax due to government. And of course, we now have to go and check to see whether what they had done is correct. And we can't not do that without, adequate information and data on them. So upon the coming of this current administration, we opened what we call the data mining department, where we have plugged in all sources of informations, the bank data information from the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, information from CAC. You know, we've plugged in together so that with the touch of a button, any information that has to do with that taxpayer will just pop up. I will not compare with what he has, you know, filed as a self-assessment. And if there are disparities there, of course, we raise additional assessment, and, you know, we serve it to the taxpayer to go and pay the difference. So this cardinal objectives, the 4 of them in the last 2 years, has really taken us, you know, to very greater heights.
The interview with Mr. Abba continues next episode. Keep a date with us. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.